I'm Brian Early. I'd like to talk to you today about Blue Magic, the newest all-natural terpene-derived pesticide specifically designed for hemp and marijuana. Today, we're going to walk you through the simple steps of how to mix and apply Blue Magic in your home garden, as well as walk you through our commercial facility where Blue Magic is a staple to our IPM. Prior to applying Blue Magic, we recommend removing any dead or decaying foliage from the plant that may block Blue Magic from being applied to healthy growth. For weekly maintenance, mix 1 ounce of Blue Magic to 1 gallon of water. For infestation, mix 2 ounces of Blue Magic to 1 gallon of water. Apply treatment, repeating every 2 days until infestation is gone. Return to maintenance schedule. Directions for application. Caution: to avoid damaging plants, never use Blue Magic while grow lights are powered on. Shake bottle thoroughly before adding Blue Magic to water. Spray the entire plant, covering all leaves, stems, and stalk. Allow plants to dry thoroughly before turning grow lights back on. Blue Magic may also be used as a root drench. Mix 2 ounces of Blue Magic to 1 gallon of water. Soak pot thoroughly. Let stand 10 to 15 minutes. Flush pot with 1 gallon pH neutral water. Visit growbluemagic.com for more information or to find a retailer near you.
Stone vet, I hit the ground running when I'm invading your country. Instill with honor and discipline, throw my guns like onions.
What's up, guys? Sergeant G here from the STONED VET USMC. I'm glad you guys are here with me to enjoy this day, man. Hopefully your week has gotten better. It's getting close to an end, though, so hopefully, you got the up and up, right? I love that you guys are here hanging out with me today. Enjoy this time together. Like I tell you guys watching the video, you can see that beautiful gold warhammer saying that I am the #1 Marine Corps podcast in the entire world. Without you, I couldn't have done it, but it's the audience like you that go out there and vote to ensure that I continue keeping this award every day. I want to give a huge shout out to my sponsor, Rafa 180. Rafa 180 provides you the best medicinal grade CBD on the market, hands down. One of the biggest things we struggle with as veterans is the lack of sleep. We never get the right amount of sleep. You average 2, maybe 4 hours of sleep. We all know that. Why? Because that's what we did while we served in our country, right? But now that you're not serving, you're still only getting 2 to 4 hours of sleep. You want to make sure you hit that REM cycle, that good REM cycle. Go check out Rafa 180. They have 2 amazing products. They got a Night Ops and a Sapphire. The Night Ops was created by an Iraq War veteran who suffered like us, who couldn't get the sleep that he needed. So he created an amazing product with the amazing minerals that provides you the minerals you need to get a good night's sleep. They also have a Sapphire that carries CBN. Like I tell you guys, if you guys aren't familiar with CBDs, CBN acts as though it helps relax the mind so you can get the rest that you need. Go check out Rafa 180. That's Romeo Alpha Papa Hotel Alpha 180.com to get all your medicinal CBD needs. And when you check out with the STONED VET USMC, you get 15% off your entire purchase, man. I'm super excited to be here. Like, today is an amazing day because I got an amazing guest that said, yeah, I got time for you today. And so I'm super excited. I am bringing on the CEO and founder of Blue Green. What was it?
Blue Green Ventures.
Blue Green Adventures. Blue Green Adventures. So this here is Ryan Early and his top cultivator, Mr. CW, man. How you guys doing today?
Good, brother. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you guys came, man. A lot of people don't understand. One of the biggest things you guys understand, this is one reason that I do my show, is that I tell you guys have to advocate at the local level and understand what it means for medical freedom, right? You guys always like, Sergeant always talking about weed. Sergeant always talking about CBD. Sergeant always talking about psilocybin. These are natural remedies that are out there that grow. They come from the dirt that we walk on every single day. And the biggest thing, me, I'm trying to break the stigma on cannabis, right? It's a freaking plant. It's like anything that grows outside, right? It's a rose, a lily, a lilac, you know. But Mr. Ryan Early here, his guy has made leeway in the state of Oklahoma. You guys that don't know about Oklahoma and the cannabis laws here, we are leading the way by far by any state that has cannabis legalized in it, man. So you guys doing good today? You guys hanging out?
Every day's a good day.
Every day's a good day, right?
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. So Ryan here, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Let them know exactly who you are and why I'm so excited to be bringing you on the show today, man. You got so much. His resume, like if you saw his resume, you'd be like, "Holy shit, dude!" Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, right? I'm native Oklahoman, born here in 1982. Never lived anywhere else. Been here all my life. Grew up just east of Oklahoma City. I'm a plumber by trade. Had a plumbing contracting company that specialized in water purification systems and water treatment. Early on, 2015, we started looking at CBD as a viable option to treat epilepsy. And I was fascinated the fact that it could be legal in our state.
right,
And we didn't have specific laws that said it was. But the federal laws were looking at changing. And there were pathways to be able to create new legislature here locally to fall under the umbrella of what the federal government allowed us to do. And that allowed for the birth of Katie's Law, which allowed CBD for epilepsy with a physician's recommendation. And though it didn't get very far and not very many patients were inducted under that and actually got their positions to write that recommendation, it allowed us a vehicle into the legislature.
right,
Let us build relationships at a local level. And as those relationships got nurtured, we were able to draft new legislation that expanded access to CBD through House Bill 1559, which allowed us to begin the sale and manufacture of CBD products here in the state of Oklahoma.
all right.
And that was the birth of Cantech Labs.
That's crazy. I mean, just to think like that. I mean, because it was, what did you say, 2015? When did Cantech become Cantech Labs?
So Cantech was able to open legally after the passage of House Bill 1559 in June of 2016.
2016. So that wasn't even long ago. That was not long ago.
Feels like forever.
It feels like forever because your company keeps growing. You
right.
just keep growing, you keep expanding, and keep growing, right? And that's one of the biggest things I tell you guys that are listening to the show is that you have to start at the local level, right? In order, what did you just say? We were talking earlier. He said, in order to change the law, what did you say? You gotta write the bill to change the law. What?
Well, you've got to make things that you want come to fruition in the legal statute. You have to lobby a politician, get them to understand your vision, and typically that starts with a local legislator. We all have house members. There's 100 House members here in this state. Right. Everybody's got a couple. So that's given to us by our civil rights, right? By our elected members,
right?
To be the voice of the people. And so when they don't listen to the people, they usually don't get elected the next year, right?
Right.
Most of your House legislators, I mean, I've not met many that wouldn't entertain a conversation.
Right.
They may not be in support of it, et cetera, et cetera. I've been told no a whole lot of times on the Hill.
Right.
But we've had a lot of yeses.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is having a program. If you have the right reasons at heart, right? If we're going in there and looking at, say, a mental health issue or an overall general health issue, opioid crisis, there's a number of things, the current pandemic,
right?
That legislation could be enacted to allow the research of new therapeutics and breakthrough therapeutics such as psilocybin, which as of 2 years ago was considered by the FDA to be a breakthrough treatment.
Right. No, absolutely.
And they've now approved research. So,
right.
Anyways, as long as you can follow the legal pathways, legislators can't do things that are illegal. And
right.
though marijuana is kind of the stick in the eye to the government,
right?
That is them turning that eye, right? That they should have faced this problem a long time ago.
Right. No, absolutely. It should have been. Yeah. I mean, with the whole freaking being a Schedule freaking 1 drug, I mean, now that we're seeing it, right? There's a lot of movement happen, not just on the legislative side, but even on the corporate side. There's a lot of movement happening. I mean, the NFL just dropped over $1 million to study the medicinal research of cannabinoids with TBI.
Which, on that note, right, let's look at how much money the NFL spent on rehabilitative
Right.
products that are pharmaceutical
Right,
related,
right.
right? And it's in the billions. So
Right.
for them to drop $1 million at this and spend 10 million telling people about it is kind of a kick in the shin,
Right.
right?
It is. Yeah.
In my opinion. But it's a pathway forward.
No, it's a start, right? Because now you're looking.
Now they have to produce a paper out of that
Right.
$1 million of research.
Right.
So,
No, absolutely. Now they can produce the paperwork that's saying those. So, like I said, I had Brian Buckley on my show not too long ago. He's another jarhead out of San Diego. He owns Hellman Valley Grow Company, and he told he went to the politicians at the local level, right? They said he's like, how do I make this legal? How can I make this legal? And they said you have to show us numbers, right? You have to show us numbers so that we have something to vote on.
Sure.
Right? And so he's putting millions of dollars. Like, I mean, it's expensive to do a research, right?
Absolutely.
To do a research project, it costs millions of dollars. So he's dropping millions of dollars on this research project that he's doing, but he's doing it. And he's conducting a research project. So when he goes to Congress, he said, here you go. As requested. Here are the numbers that we've been shown, and this is what we've been finding. This is what we've been cultivating to do, right? And you, as a cultivator, you understand the importance of the terpene profiles and the cannabinoids and everything else in the plant, right? And that's one thing I tell you guys about how important it is to find the right terpenes for the medicine that you need, right? A lot of people are like, oh, I just want to get high. No, like, is it cool just to get high? Yeah, it's cool just to get high. But when you're actually looking for medicine, you got to understand the terpene and the cannabinoids that are in this plant to get the medicine that you need.
Right.
You know?
On that note, in a medical industry such as Oklahoma, it's very difficult for a patient such as myself to go into a store and find a product that is strain specific, that is that is even a broad spectrum and not just a distillate product. Right. And so that if we want to if you're just looking to get the narcotic effect, the distillate will do it. THC will do that.
Right.
But if you're looking for the therapeutic, the happy, the alert, the focus, the relax, the munchies,
right,
which is my personal favorite.
Right.
Well, then I need a certain terpene profile and a certain even ratio of minor cannabinoids, and I feel like minor cannabinoids don't get near enough attention.
Right.
They're starting to with the release of the new publications on CBDA and CBGA.
Right.
With the COVID studies that now 2 universities have produced as being valid breakthrough treatments. So I feel like there's so much to this plant that we don't know, both through the terpenoids. Everyone wants to look at just 2 compounds, THC and CBD, and they are the 2 big compounds, right, that we know of.
Yeah, right. No, absolutely. I mean, because I like I said, I do research. I get articles always popping up. Oh, they found this new CBD, and I'm like, huh. Let me look into this.
CBL and CBD.
Yeah, you're like, what is this? Let me look at. But people are doing research. Like it's not just in America though. This is around the world. I mean, look at Israel. True. Look how much research they've done on cannabis in Israel. You know what I'm saying? There's so many research projects that they've done.
The people say, oh, they're 10 years ahead of us. No, they never stopped.
They just kept going.
Look at the Netherlands, right?
Yeah.
They never stopped growing hemp, right? They've been growing it for hundreds and hundreds of years commercially and providing the world with hemp, and the rest of the world has been kept from doing that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, monopolies in all areas, but that's starting to break, right? Like it's starting to change ever so slowly.
Right.
Look at Mexico, right? Mexico just went full recreationally legal on a federal level.
Yeah.
They're really the biggest country to do that yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, them and then fucking Canada too. I mean, both. That's what I tell them. I said, how is it that we stuck in between 2 countries where it's federally legal? You know what I'm saying?
And we have 30 different sets of regulations for 30 different states, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's the biggest struggle, right? So, like I said, I work with the Veteran Action Council. If you guys aren't familiar, go check them out. They are a bunch of veterans who are advocating for cannabis, right? They advocate, and they have they have the green paper, which they've submitted to the Veteran Health Administration, talking about the medicinal benefits of cannabis, of all the research that has been done around the world, and showed them to them, right? And not only that, but they've also created the Safe Harbor Act.
Right.
So when they cross state lines, they're like, I should not be held liable to your state laws. I should be held liable to my state laws. Right. If I'm able to have medicine, I should be able to carry my medicine anywhere I go.
Exactly.
It's like a diabetic going across state lines. You can't carry your carry your medicine.
Prescription.
Any prescription, right?
Yeah, any prescription, doesn't matter.
You can't go across state lines if you need it, right? You got heart medicine that you got to take.
However, I will say my soon-to-be daughter-in-law just had gallbladder surgery. And because she's a medical marijuana card holder, They wouldn't give her any narcotic pain medication. Told her to smoke three joints a day and take some ibuprofen after gallbladder surgery, and that's pretty inhumane. That's pretty cruel.
It is, right?
Right? That's not okay. There is a time and a need for pharmaceutical
No, there
drugs,
is, right?
opioids, etc. Major surgeries for the first 3 to 7 days.
Right.
No one needs that after 7 days.
Right.
If they do, something went wrong, right?
No, absolutely.
But for them to say no because you believe this
Cannabis
plant is your medicine,
right.
then it's going to cure you for that. You don't need that.
And that's the problem. That's the problem.
Bullshit.
That's the problem with doctors, right? They're very. A lot of them are very ignorant when it comes to when you start talking about your. This is what I use to treat this,
Sure.
right? This is what I use to treat this. And like I tell people, I said, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with Western medicine. There's nothing wrong. There's a time and place for it, you know. But when you continue to give me, like I said, like not too long ago, I went to my annual visit at the VA, and I came home, and a week later, I had a bag of 50 pills in it. And I was like, I looked at it and I said, what are all these pills for? Like, I don't understand what all these pills are for. A lot of it's mental health stuff and a lot of different things. But I was like, I'm not taking this. Like, I can't take this stuff. Like, I don't even know. One of them was a muscle cream. I looked at it and they said, if you use this too much, it can cause you a heart attack. I said, it's a muscle cream. How does this cause a heart attack, dude? It's a muscle cream. Like, seriously? They said, yeah, if you use too much of it, it can cause a heart attack. And I'm like, you gotta be freaking. I said, I can't use this stuff.
But make sure you use the amount so you can refill it.
So you can refill it, right? So you can refill it at the end of the month. And that's, and it sucks, like that, to have surgery. Yeah, should you need some Oxycontin or some Loratabs or something after surgery? Whatever, you know what I'm saying? A week supply, right?
Sure.
You get it for a couple of days, and then after that, you're still incorporating cannabis with it, you know what I'm saying, to help get
Absolutely.
you, and then, but I mean, like that's the ignorance of a doctor to say, oh no, just use that. But wait, dude, have you even studied this to understand that this could work or it couldn't work? Have you even looked into it to understand the medicine, what cannabis can actually do? I mean, because if you did, just because I tell you I use it, you shouldn't rely on. And that's one of the biggest things. So I got a brother of mine that follows me. He's out of Canada. He's in the Canadian Army up there, and he for them, they say when they get out of service, right, when they retire or whatever, and they get their VA disability, he said they give us 10 grams a week. Like, they supply it to us as veterans. They give us 10 grams a week for medicine. I was like, oh shit, dude, how do I get on that program, dude? Like, seriously, how do I get on that program? They give you 10 grams a week? Are you kidding me? You don't have to pay out of pocket? And that's one thing the Veteran Action Council is trying to do as well for veterans. It's like the VA should pay, whether it's a gift card for you to go to any dispensary and be able to pick up your medicine, or they have
X amount of dollars a month
right,
for vitamins, supplements, cannabis, right? That should all be that should
all be there incorporated in it. You know what I'm saying? And if they're going to supply it, ensuring that they have a proper cultivator, a proper grow to be able to supply the medicine, right? And like I said, Brian Buckley is actually doing research on strain specific cannabis. So this helps with anxiety. This helps with depression. This helps with sleep. This helps with this. He's actually doing that on top of the research that he's doing. So he has veterans coming in, and he's like, all right, let's try this strain, and understanding how the strain works and what it's helped with. And so he can say, all right, this strain helps with this. If you want to deal with this, get this right here. Right. And which is great, right? That's awesome to be able to go to the store and say, I need help with sleep. Oh, this one works. I can smoke this, and it's going to help, or I can eat it. It's edible. It's going to help me sleep, right? How awesome would that be, right? Just like when people go in and go get NyQuil, freaking Dayquil, or whatever medicine, right? It should be like that at our fingertips, right? And so with you, I mean, like you changed the laws here in Oklahoma. You allowed Oklahoma to start with CBD, right? You worked with the governor at the local level,
yes, sir,
and got the governor to sign a bill saying, yes, we can start growing. You can start doing CBD. Right? Cultivating it, processing it, all that, right?
Distributing it, sales, and then we've written Senate Bill 238, which went on to give regulations, truth in labeling, consumer protection guidelines, essentially,
which needs to be done, right? Because it has to be
country of origin, synthetic or natural, right? Active ingredient in the label, third-party verification testing, the batch lot coding, everything that. I mean, like it should have to be.
Like it should have to be, right? Because
many states don't require that.
And that's one of the things I tell you guys whenever you guys are looking for a great CBD product, dude. Like, not all CBD is created the same at all by any
Sure,
means.
it was not.
And you owning Cantech Labs, processing CBD daily, right?
Sure.
I mean, I can only imagine how much CBD you're processing on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying?
It varies, and especially with with all the new cannabinoids like the CBN that's in the sapphire, the CBC, the CBDA, and CBGA that we're now going to larger production with,
Right.
because now the studies are coming out showing what they can do for
Right.
prophylaxis, etc. So we are constantly coming out with new
New things,
trying to
right?
get not new, just new access, right?
Right.
They're in the plant, we just are figuring out finally how to get them.
Right.
Of course, there's a lot of groups running around doing conversions, right? Isomers, converting through chemical synthesis,
Oh yeah.
delta 8s, delta 10s, right? HHC, THCP, THCO, those are all synthetic,
Yeah.
or not synthetic, but synthesized isomers. And so just just be careful with
Be
those.
careful,
Everybody
right?
be careful
And
with that shit. Like that ain't real weed. That's
right.
not real cannabis.
And that's what I mean. It's almost similar like Spice when Spice came out, right? Like a lot of more synthetic, like
it is in the sense it comes from an organic substance, right? Most of it's converted from CBD or CBG
right.
isolate. But when that conversion is done in a lab, it takes some pretty harsh chemicals to do such. I mean, we'll get a detail on that. But it's pretty harsh,
right?
And chances of those being 100% recontained are little to none. And most of those solvents that are being used are not traditional cannabis solvents.
Right.
Therefore, you can send your Delta 8 gummies in for testing, and they show all is good, right? Because
because that's the big craze right now. Delta 8's a big craze right now.
Using
Right?
that for an example.
No, I'm just saying it's a big craze. It's everywhere.
Absolutely.
It's everywhere.
So,
it's in all 50 states. Like that's one of the biggest things right now is Delta 8.
It's a converted isomer using chemical synthesis. So I mean, again, if we're using compounds that aren't being tested for to create this, then there's no one to hold us to a level of accountability,
right?
For consumer protection, and that's really what it boils down to. I think that's where a lot of the states are starting to have issues with it.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm not going to say those cannabinoids don't have their value. And can be beneficial, because I know a lot of people that Delta 8 helps, especially with neurological migraines.
Right. No, it does.
People that sing its praises.
Right.
I'm not. At the same time, there's people that absolutely just look at it as a bastard molecule, right? It's not natural in the plant. Yet we're testing for it, and we've always tested for Delta 8, right, on the labs. That's what's funny, is it's been there for a long time, but now we're just starting to see hits on it.
Right.
So. Delta 10 not even being tested for in Oklahoma. HHC not even being tested for, which means you could go buy a bag of gummies that don't say anything about having THC or CBD or Delta 8 or anything in them and eat them and get absolutely wrecked right now. And it's there's no regulation on that. So.
And it sucks, dude. It sucks. And this is what I tell you guys that are listening on the show all the time, is that you have to understand what's in the plant. What's in the product that you're buying, right? Like that's what's great about what Cantech Labs, American Wholesale Hemp, all these. That's what was great about them, is that they always provide that QR code. So like if you go to Raffle 180, you purchase any CBD product, there's a QR code on there. You can get in there, scan it, and it's going to show you what's in the product, right? Sure. It's going to show you what's in the product, and that's what I tell you guys, that not all CBD is created the same, dude. By no means. I mean, everybody has their own way of processing. Everybody has their own way of manufacturing it. And if you actually went in there and actually seen it, you'd probably be disgusted by how a lot of it is being done. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And I'm sure you, being an expert in what you're doing, I'm sure you've seen some labs, right?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm throwing names out.
No names. But I mean, just so people understand, so they can see,
everything look. from the freaking literal bathtub batches, right, all the way to major facilities, and even some of those major facilities, because there's no one to really hold them accountable here, right? They cut a lot of corners. They may be using inferior solvents, inferior chemicals, right? Different methodologies that, again, don't pull all those chemicals back out. Or some are not even possible to pull back out. But if they're not tested for, and no one's there to hold you accountable, It's much like the Oklahoma medical marijuana testing industry. We'll get everybody fired up on this. So, there's no, if you go to, let's just pick Nevada, for example. The state of Nevada runs around, sends a group out at any given time, and they take the test samples, right, for compliance to make sure that the reports that you're putting out, now they're allowed to do their own analytical,
Right.
as well, right? But they're being held accountable by the state.
Right.
As to where here, growers cannot do their own analytical. We have to rely on a third party, right, as a lab.
Right.
And you, as a grower, cannot own part of that lab. You can't be associated with it
By any
as long
means,
as you
right,
can't.
Right.
And the problem is, if there's no one holding that lab accountable or giving them even a baseline of this is where you should be. And I'll give a perfect example. If I send a sample of CBD isolate in that's tested at 2 out-of-state labs, ISO accredited, running DEA columns, right, for accuracy, and they're testing at, say, 99.7% at both labs, within 1% variance of that. And we send it to a local lab here, and they tested 109%, right, 109.82. I know that lab is running a 10% variance.
Right.
Right, and they're literally turning their numbers up. And in their defense, let's say a lab that doesn't have a big name or a lot of advertising and has a small group of clients, if they put out accurate numbers that really their farmer's flower is testing 17, 18%, their farmer wouldn't come back to them.
Right.
They'd go find a new lab, and the
Right.
lab would be out of business as fast as it was open. And so, in return, they can run variances because there's no limitations by OMA set on variances of how much you want to turn it up. I can add 2%, 3%, 5%, 10%, 12% to the testing, and there's no one that tells me I'm wrong or I can't. And that's why we see a lot of these labs on flower that clearly is not even pushing 20% total THC.
Right.
Right, and it's showing 36% on the label. It's laughable, but it's every day.
It's horrible, though.
Every day.
It's
though.
horrible. Like
Every day in every store.
Yeah, because I mean, like here in the dispensary, you go in any dispensary here in Oklahoma, that's what they praise about. Oh, this has 30% THC.
Sure.
This has 20% THC.
9% terpene in
You know what
this.
I'm saying? Yeah, like this one here. This is Highland Thai, so it's like it's a 1-to-1. So I mean, it's 9 THC and 9 CBD.
Hey, I'll buy that. That's probably legitimate medicine right there.
It's not. It's medicine, right?
That's where it should be.
That's where it should be, right? And that's what I tell you guys. Is it cool to get high as hell and just not give a shit? Yeah. There's a time and place.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But when it's medicine, like this here, this Highland Thai, this is the wife's. It's medicine. It's a 1-to-1 is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And she get high, yeah, she get a little bit high, but she's not off the wall where she can't do
she's not
shit.
staring
Right?
at the floor,
Yeah,
really.
she's not staring at the floor like what the hell is that? You know? But and that's one of the biggest things that I tell you guys that are listening all the time is like you have to understand your medicine. Where is it coming from? How's it being processed? Who's manufacturing it? And like you say here in Oklahoma, there's no freaking limit on how much they can adjust it.
There's no standardization.
If you pay them enough, he can give you a little bit more. You know,
Well,
what
they
I'm saying?
can, and the problem is they don't have to, right? These labs got to stay in business.
Right,
By
true.
this time, they're far enough in. They know exactly what they
Yeah.
need to do to turn it up, right? And what happens when you see those real high numbers is someone probably brought in something that was pretty decent,
Right.
but because they're running a 5, 7, 9, 12% variance, right? It just looks retarded. And it's like, no, it's good weed, right?
It's
like,
good
I need
weed,
that looks
right.
like some gas. I'm
Right.
gonna smoke that.
Right.
It's probably 22, 23, not 33.
Right. No,
Right.
absolutely.
So, and unfortunately, that's just raw truth.
Which sucks, dude. But I mean, that's anywhere though. I mean, within the 37 states that have legalized cannabis, everybody has their flaws.
Well, sure.
Right.
It's just, I think a lot of the states that have been in it longer than us, right, have figured out that we have to fucking account for testing or we're not protecting our consumers. Our consumers really don't know
What they're doing, what they're getting,
the
right?
fuck they're getting.
And that's why a lot of people start growing their own medicine.
Sure.
Right. That's why a lot of them, because they're like, I grew it, I know what I got. Right.
So where Grown with Love comes in.
Grown with Love over here, Mr. CW, top cultivator, right? He's your number one cultivator. He's in the dirt all day long
All
playing
day.
with plants, right?
Yep.
Which is amazing. And so with you've also contracted through Northwestern Oklahoma State here, right? In Oklahoma. Right?
Yep. He was a part of Hemp for Victory, the entire program since 2018. So
That's freaking
all the way from the lab and the research side through now being able to run cultivation facility for Growing with Love with all their breeding program,
Right.
seed program, which of course any home growers looking for good genetics, right, can visit gwlfarms.com. Check them out.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And so, I mean, with that research that you've been doing with Northwestern Oklahoma, how is that coming along? Because a lot of people aren't familiar with Hemp for Victory. If you guys aren't familiar with, why don't you tell them a little bit about how Hemp for Victory was started, right?
Yeah. So Hemp Genetics, with the passage of House Bill 2913, which I helped Representative Dollins and Senator Paxton put that together. That allowed the in-state growth of cannabis ahead of marijuana. That was passed in April of 2018. And with the university research agreement or a partnership with the university, independent entities were allowed to cultivate hemp. They had to report back through the university program their results, overall yields, et cetera, just like they did to ODAF. But that program ended December 31st of 2020. That way, 2021. That was a 2-year program with my school, Northwestern Oklahoma State, who we ran our program with.
Okay.
And so we've continued research on some of the development there. Of course, the ongoings will continue on, but now a research program is no longer required to go get a permit to grow hemp in Oklahoma. Anyone can go get one now.
And just go grow their own hemp right now.
That's right. We had a 2-year very successful program in Oklahoma.
And so now anybody can grow hemp in Oklahoma, right?
With a license,
with the license,
from
right?
the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, so I got a brother in he's in Florida. He owns a Karma Core International. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's doing the same thing in Florida, showing veterans that they can grow their own hemp, right? Because a lot of people are like, it's hemp. It's not going to do nothing for me, right?
Right.
If you ain't cultivating it, right?
Well,
right? If you're not cultivating hemp, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sad part is, I've asked a lot of veterans. I said, it's like, man, I don't like CBD flower. I said, why not? Because it tastes like garbage. It's gross. I was like, what kind of CBD flower are you smoking? I said, because I know working with Ryan.
Cherry.
Right. I was like, I'm working with Ryan here. So like I see, like he said, he was part of the research project, right? For years. I remember when you first got that, I was like, and when you started cultivating it, right? And I was like, that's what I would blend my flower with. I would literally get the hemp genetic flower and blend it with my THC flower. And oh my gosh, I was like, this is delicious. Like, It's absolutely delicious. And now how many strains is it now that you guys have for just the hemp flower?
So on the CBD side, we've got 12 that we've ran all the way through university studies, right? Checking full agronomics on those genetics, down to general microclimate capabilities, et cetera. So we can go anywhere in the world out of those 12 genetics
and grow
and produce high CBD. Our Fanergy, you may have saw something on that here a while back, which is pushing 20 to 22% CBGA. Very low THC, very low CBD, right?
Right.
But the profile is a juicy fruit profile, so very flavorful, very very good, very clear-minded smoke. Like if I got work to go do, I enjoy that CBG. So, everybody likes to think of CBG in the headband. That's because it gives you that little bit of, so we've taken that CBG strain and licensed that to Grown with Love, and they have done some breeding on that to cross that into some traditional THC strains,
right?
Which are coming out 3, 5, 7% CBG, much like your 1-to-1 here,
right?
2-to-1s, 3-to-1s, 4-to-1s, 5-to-1s in THC to CBG.
Damn.
And so these are some of the newest things we're working on. We've actually, I think you got a batch in the big room right now that we're going to do the first full production run of the new Fanergy hybrid between the two. So we're excited about that one.
That sounds super exciting.
I'll get you some samples.
No, I definitely gonna need some samples of that, because I mean, that's one of the biggest things. That's what I tell my audience is that you got to know your medicine. Like, you got to understand. I've been working with a brother of mine, Travis Johnson. He teaches podcasting, right? He's actually got a class. He's actually put together a class that's going to be in the Forbes Business University, teaching people how to podcast, right? How do you podcast? How do you make money off podcasts, and so forth, right? And that's one of the biggest things he told me. He said, why haven't you made a guide on terpenes and cannabinoids? Like, to show people, like, hey, this is the terpenes. This is what these terpenes help with, whether it's anxiety, depression, aches and pains, body head, He's like, why have you not created something like this, just like a user guide, so when people know, when they go to look for flower, they know what they're looking for, what they need, the smells, what it smells like. what it looks like and stuff like that. I said the thing is that there's so many different strains of cannabis, right? There's like thousands of strains of cannabis, right? There's like you can't ever, and they're just some off the wall names that somebody came up with, right? You know, like Orange Malibu or whatever, you know. And it's just to be like, but he's like, you should just have something to start talking about CBDs, putting all the CBDs in there, terpenes, all the terpenes in there, so people know what to look for when they go to look for flower. And I say, all right, so now I got to start putting some stuff together to put a book together and say, hey, look, here's a user guide for you. So when you go get your next, when you go buy your next eighth or your next, you know, ounce or whatever, this is something to look for. If you're trying to feel this relaxation, you know, whether it's something purple, something green, whatever it is, you know, this is the medicine that's out there. You just have to know how to use it, right?
Sure.
Which one's going to work for you?
Yeah, exactly.
How
Which
it's
one?
gonna
And
work.
you being a cultivator, you absolutely
Yeah.
understand, right? The
Yeah.
the CBDs, the CBGs, the THCs, right?
Yeah.
And understanding how it works together and breeding them together. So you guys are now creating hybrids
Oh yeah.
to put the CBD and THC strains together
CBG.
and CBG together? That's super exciting,
It's been
dude.
fun.
So you guys,
I think people are really actually learning about it because we've had people wanting CBD flower and CBG flower, and it's not on the market. Everything's tea, and everybody came in wanting to grow tea.
right?
And
Now
there's
they're
the
realizing
people
medicine.
that the medical want the medicine and
Right.
figured it out.
No,
And
absolutely.
there is some people out there looking for it. So, and like us, we can breed it and breed in the juicy, the fruity flavors into it.
Right.
You know,
No, absolutely. And that's a lot. And a
to
lot
make
of
it taste good.
Right. No, absolutely. A lot of people I've talked to, they're like, oh, it's gross here. It's nasty. It tastes like hay. It's just, ugh. You know, I'm like, who is cultivating your flower, dude?
Right.
Like, who's cultivating it? You know, you being a cultivator, you know, you got people who just don't give a crap and just, okay.
Yep.
And you got people like you that, no, my shit tastes good.
Yep.
I put my name on that. I put my stamp on that.
Yep.
I grew it. That's why it tastes so good because I grew. I took the time
Yep.
to
And
to
it's
study.
genetics, the genetics.
Yeah. You know,
And picking, growing them and breeding the seeds, and then, at the end picking one or two or none.
right? And just knowing and understanding it. I mean, and that's what a lot of people, that's what a lot of you guys, that I keep stressing you guys about. You guys have to understand why Sergeant G always advocating? Why is he always advocating for cannabis? Why does he feel like it's medicine, dude? And let me tell you, I mean, I'm bringing two of the guys in the top of the game here in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, these two are the top of the game right now, right? Nobody else in Oklahoma is doing what they're doing, right? And if you guys do any research and you're seeing Oklahoma is leading the way in cannabis overall, leading the way with the rules and regulations and everything that's being done. People are actually coming to Oklahoma to figure out how we're doing it, so they can take it back to the state. Is that right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
You know, and a lot of you guys, I mean, it's like Ryan saying, you got to start at the local level. Like I tell you guys have to advocate at the local level. You know, I had Dawn Ann. She's from Michigan. She's a caregiver, right? She survived 4 different cancers already. You know, but she's like, I couldn't have done it without advocates like you guys. She said, I had people giving me RSO. I had people giving me flowers, showing me, take this. We're gonna beat this cancer. Take it, right? And she said, so she's a caregiver, and so Michigan's trying to change the law. She's a caregiver for like 5 or 6 different patients. And they told her you can only be a caregiver for 1 patient. And she's like, what do you mean I can only be a caregiver for 1 patient? I got 5 or 6 people I'm taking care of. Like, I'm taking care of these people, right? And so she's like, I'm at the Capitol every day, poking the bear. You can't do this. You can't do this. Let me tell you why. Poking it. She's like, you got to poke the bear so he knows you're there, right? And you got to start at the local level, right?
True.
You got to start at the local level to allow medicine, right? I mean, in any state, there's 50 states. In any freaking state, there's a veteran. There's at least 1 veteran in that state, right?
Oh,
You know, then we know there's more than that. But if you guys haven't started a group to say, hey, I want cannabis in our state, it's not legal here. How many other people are out there in my state that want to advocate with me, that want to go to the Capitol and start fighting for this so we can get it on a ballot, right? It's hard because a lot of people are like, I don't know how to do this. I've never done it. I mean, all the House bills that you've created, right? How many House bills have you created?
6, and we've got 1 in the committee right now. So.
Right. So you got 7 of them, right? And this guy, he was a plumber, guys. Like, I mean, I'm not saying he's dumb or anything, but I mean, he was a plumber. Like, I mean, it wasn't like you weren't sitting in a chair. You weren't working with state representatives. Like, you weren't there in Congress doing this stuff, right? You're like, I want to do something, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
so you had to go and learn how to create this, right?
Absolutely.
Did you have people showing you, or is it something that you jumped in and said, let me study this and see how to do this?
Jumped in, started studying early on, and realized that now, as far as with the legislative side, no, I mean, met with Representative Eccles through a friend that later became a lobbyist, a licensed lobbyist to help, spread word, get it going, and John Eccles has been a huge advocate
Has he?
for everything in Oklahoma. I mean, he's been at the backing of everything we put through, and for the right reasons. Right, his daughter was niece. I'm sorry, Katie was epileptic, and had found solace in CBD, and that's what prompted him to move forward with it. So.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Like I tell you, like he said he didn't know anybody. He didn't have his best friend. His best friend wasn't a freaking state representative or anything. It's like, and it's hard, right? When you don't know the right people, how do I reach to? Whose door do I knock on? Who do I talk to figure this out? You guys remember I had Brian Talley not too long ago. He's a Marine Corps veteran. The VA damn near killed him, and he fought Congress. He went to D.C. and actually talked to the senators in D.C. because they weren't holding the VA liable for malpractice.
Mm-hmm.
So at the VA, they have private contractors that work for the VA. They wear the VA vest, VA badges, but they're private contractors.
Right.
So if they do medical malpractice on you, the VA isn't held responsible for.
Right.
The physician's held responsible. But they won't let you know if the physician works for them or not. And for him, they didn't let him know that the physician was private contracted until a year after.
Wow.
And in California, the statute of limitation is 1 year after malpractice. They told him 1 year and 3 days afterwards that he was a private contractor and that the VA is not going to be held liable for the malpractice that was done on him, right? So he lost everything. He said, you know what, screw this.
Yeah.
So he learned how to write a bill, presented it to Congress. He said I was up in D.C. for 2 weeks, sitting at the table with all the representation there, with every representative, and said this has got to stop. He's like, I lost everything. I lost my business. He's like, I got lucky enough. I didn't lose my house. Lucky enough, I was able to sell it so I could move. But he lost his cars, all his vehicles, his business, everything. He was sick. He was about to die.
Right.
But he went and did research, learned how to write a bill, and presented to Congress. Right. He's like, I was in Congress. I didn't have nobody. Yeah. He said the only representation I had, he got tried for laundering money. so he didn't even. So his representation that he had in the state couldn't even help him because he had to resign he had problems. He had his own problems. And so he went to DC and he fought Congress and said and they passed the bill.
That's cool.
And now the VA is held liable for all medical malpractice, regardless if it's private contracted or not. Right. Good. And so for you guys that are listening to the show, it can happen, right? People are doing this every day.
Yeah.
Right? People that have no experience at all are doing this every single day, and this is what I keep telling you guys. You guys have to advocate in your state. Start at the local level. Reach out to representation. How many state representatives do we have here in Oklahoma? Like 100 and something, right?
100 reps and 50 senators.
100 reps and 50 senators? We got that many senators? Golly. I need at least 25 of them to vote yes, right?
At least.
I prefer 30 of them.
I prefer 30. I need 30 senators to vote yes when it comes to the vote because I'm hoping by June they vote on this, right? For the federal legalization bill. I'm hoping by June something
should be nice.
It'll be nice, right?
At the very least, start with the banking bill.
At least, right? At least, I mean, with all the dispensaries that are out there, these guys are handling hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, right? And it's like I can't even put this in a bank.
Right.
Or if you can, they charge so much it's unreal.
It's ridiculous, right? And you're like, it's cash.
Well, they look at you like a launderer. I mean, that's your criminal. Might as well be a bookie or a cocaine dealer or anybody else, right? It's the same treatment.
And you're like, this is my business. This is what I do, And it's like, but it's true. I mean,
it's good enough to take the patient's money from them, right?
Right.
But I can't pay you taxes on it.
But I can't, But that's the biggest thing, right? So that's probably the biggest thing that Congress is trying to figure out. Taxes, right? So if you're telling me I can't put this in the bank, how do you account for how much money I'm actually making?
Right.
Well, they can, and then the problem is so they just tax everything that you make.
Right.
And you don't get write-offs, and that's part of the 280E loophole, right? That allows them to tax every single income dollar.
Right.
Right. versus, you're a regular business, you have overhead, you have expenses and employees.
Right.
Marijuana,
Product and all that.
According to
Right.
the federal government, it's 100%. So if you make, $100, I mean, you're going to pay 35% of that in taxes.
Right.
Versus, if you bring $100 in a traditional business, you might actually profit $18, right? And you would pay your 35% of that $18.
Right.
That's the difference. Is
That's ridiculous.
They're trying to take more than your profit.
And I think that's the biggest thing with Congress, is they're just trying to figure out how they can get rich off of it.
Sure.
Honestly,
All they gotta do is treat it like regular business and just tax it like they do everything else, right?
Right.
And they would be fucking great.
they'd be great, right? They'd be
Oodles of money.
tons of money, right? And that's what I tell people. I say people in Congress are making.
And then look at the savings and the amount of money, A, from incarcerations from cannabis, and B, from the enforcement of cannabis laws that are no longer valid.
Right, because like I said, in 37 states, cannabis is legal, regardless if it's adult use or medicinal use, however you want to classify it. And a lot of them are. I mean, a lot of them, like you're saying, I mean, the incarceration rate, it's what's one substantial thing, is the incarceration rate for
Marijuana
a freaking a joint of weed. You know what I'm saying?
Unbelievable.
It's ridiculous. I know. There's a guy named Weldon. He was a producer for Death Row Records, Murder Inc. He worked with Dre. He worked with all the major rappers, right, back in the 90s. And they threw him in jail for 55 years for $900 worth of weed.
We would like to give a huge thanks to Rafa 180. Rafa 180 offers pure medicinal CBD and products made locally. They walk alongside individuals to achieve a healthy lifestyle with options needed by each person. You can learn more about them on Facebook at Rafa CBD, their website www.rafa180.com, or email at rafacbd@gmail.com. They truly believe your journey matters.
55 years of federal prison for $900 worth of weed. Yeah. And he was like, it was insane. But if you guys remember, during the 90s, during that whole hip-hop era, right, the East Coast, West Coast type thing, one of the biggest things was that it was a government-ran thing. The government wanted them to rap about this stuff, so people would go and do it, right? I mean, you got one of the guys from Bone Thugs and Harmonies. He's on a talk show talking about it. He's like, yeah, dude, private ran prisons. That was the big thing. Private ran prisons. That was a big thing. They're making money off the government. But
that's Oklahoma.
I mean,
we got more private prisons here than any other state.
It's freaking ridiculous, right? But that was one of the biggest things that they were talking about. He said that the DEA and stuff were trying to get him to just snitch on people. And he was like, what are you talking about, dude? He's like, I got $900 worth of weed, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're going to throw me in prison for 55 years? Luckily, he was pardoned and he's out now. One of the biggest things he's fighting for right now is the incarceration rate, right, for cannabis, right? They even said Master P on May 20th is going to have a big walk to try to raise awareness about the ridiculousness of the incarceration rate for cannabis. A guy gets pulled over with a dime bag, and you're like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
unfortunately, legislatively, politicians respond to numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We said that earlier, and so when you can compile the numbers to go, look, you're spending X amount of billions of dollars a year on the DEA, right, et cetera, to go bust marijuana, right, let alone local law enforcement budgets, right, that nobody really takes into account. Local law enforcement's spend a lot more than even the feds do on as far as parts of their budget for marijuana.
Right.
And I mean, it's Oklahoma, of course, a whole different ballgame. We have a task force now, right, from the OBN, the DEA goes out, and they're getting the ones that are not licensed, that are selling illegal product, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm all for that, but at the same time, local law enforcement is not spending near as much on their drug dog program, because that was mainly aimed at marijuana.
Cannabis, right?
They're spending more in the search and rescue and, of course, harder drugs.
Right.
Fentanyl, right?
That's a big bust. We just had a massive fentanyl bust here.
Absolutely.
And I saw that, and I was like, that's awesome, dude. I'm glad you got that. But then the other day, I saw one that had like, what was it, 75 pounds of cannabis, and I was like,
oh, you freaking, I mean.
I was like, what the fuck did you find that? Like, who's driving around?
You just went, he wrote a zero.
He wrote a zero, dude.
Yeah, you just killed somebody's fucking greenhouse. Yeah. They've been growing you just took their livelihood of their farm.
75 pounds of marijuana. I was like
you ain't
they made it all like, yeah, this is the biggest bust. I said, It's weed. It's legal in Oklahoma, isn't it? Like,
No,
did he have a
yeah.
transportation license? Did he have a, you know,
Well, I'm sure he probably did, and they let it all go, but it gets him in the news.
right,
Unfortunately,
right. And that's just like, it's just
Go find the motherfuckers with 75 kilos of fentanyl,
Right.
and heroin, and fucking
all that shit, you know?
ice. Like that's crazy, but it is good that budgets have shifted because they have here, right?
Right.
Budgets have shifted greatly in the areas that benefit the communities.
No, absolutely. You know,
Anyways.
and that's one of the biggest things that people don't understand. Like, I mean, cannabis is. I mean, I think Canada had like $4 billion in sales or something. Like, people are making shit. It's bringing in a shitload of money. Cannabis brings in a lot of money, right? It brings in a lot of money, and I mean, and there's a lot of businesses that help local communities, right? They help schools. They help. You know, they're like, hey, what do you need? You need to feed these kids. I'll donate $1,000. You know what I'm saying? I'll donate $1,000 to get some meals for these kids while they're out for summer school, or whatever. I'm gonna help with this program. I want to help with this program. Let me donate so much money to your program, right? Because cannabis does bring in a lot of money. Cannabis brings in a whole lot of money, right?
Big market,
big market, big money, right? And so that's the biggest thing is trying to help break the stigma, getting Congress to vote. Like, get this over with, get it off your plate. Let's go ahead and legalize, because you know what's going to happen. They're going to legalize it and be like, oh shit, we didn't put this in there and we forgot that. Or
they'll legalize it and they'll regulate it to death over the next 20 years.
Yeah, over the next 20 years, they'll regulate the shit out of it, and you're going to be like, what the fuck, you know? But just as long as people who have federal positions are able to go smoke weed, dude, like, let me go smoke a joint.
Hopefully it'll open enough eyes in the general public
Right.
that they'll accept it enough to know that they can grow this plant, right?
Right.
There's a lot of information on how to grow this plant online. It doesn't take a university research program to do it.
Right.
It can be done pretty simply.
Right.
With simple instructions. So they can grow their own medicine. They can make their own oils. Out of it, butters out of it.
Right.
There's a lot of things you can do at home that don't require a lot of money and equipment, etc. So,
right.
I think that's a big part of it, right? Is once it decriminalizes federally, hopefully they will allow home growth on a national level.
Right. No, absolutely. That's very big, right?
Oklahoma's blessed as a state, right? Even with a small plant count, it's still beneficial as a patient.
No, it very much is, and like you said, being able to make your own. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, I don't smoke. Well, that's cool, dude. But I mean, you still got edibles.
Sure.
You can make your own butters. Make your own. You can
How
make
long
your
has
own
it been
food.
since you slept good?
Right? How long is it,
You
right?
might not smoke, but how long has it been since you slept good?
Right? No, absolutely. You know, and like I got a brother of mine. He's about to retire out of the Navy, and he's like, "Well, I don't smoke." I said, "It's cool.
Eat it.
Let's make sure you got the right edibles. Then let's make sure you're getting the right medicine, dude. Don't just go to a dispensary and say I want this, and then be like, here you go, here's some shit right here. You know."
So I'll say, I know OK57, as a patient, I've done a lot of research just on brands. OK57 is one of the first and one of the only edible companies I know of right now that's a full line of all full spectrum strain specific.
Oh, really?
Edibles. So
I just had KIRK from Every Seed Cannon. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's got a place right here off of Shields. Every
Kirk
Seed.
Reed?
I think so. I don't know.
I know
Maybe.
Kirk Reed, but I don't know what the name of his company is.
I don't know, but it's Every Seed Cannon. He's using full spec, like he's using
Nice.
full plant. Like he
Nice,
don't
nice.
use any distillate or anything.
Very good.
He's like, I don't want to use any distillate. He's like, I didn't even know what it was until I started baking.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, then I found out what distillate was, and he's like, so he uses whole plant.
Yep.
He's like, I just use whole plant, everything. So,
Yep.
and I was like, that's awesome because it's medicine, right? You're using.
It's hard. I'll have to go by and try
Yeah.
the products because it's hard to find.
It's hard to find good products,
clean,
right?
good,
Yeah, absolutely.
strain specific products.
Absolutely. And I told him, I said, as soon as I'm able to, I'm gonna be hitting you up, dude. Like, hey, let's figure this out. Let's try it out and see. But like you said, I mean, it's very hard to find good medicine because it's not all processed, right? The regulation that's out there's no real like strong regulation like when you go. Because I mean, even if you look like at Hershey's or Nestle or any of them, they still have a window of what they can provide in their chocolate, right? It's gross. Some of the stuff is like they can have up to so much hair and they can have so much this and so much that in their chocolate, right? It's gross, right? But it's law and they're able to. They know the law, right? And it's the same with medicine.
Through local and higher level lobbyism.
Yeah, right. Local and higher level lobbyism. But that's one of the biggest things is that I tell you guys, when you guys go to find your medicine, you guys have to understand your medicine. Like, ask them, hey, can I see let me see your lab reports. Even though they can strain, right? Like you guys had mentioned earlier, plus or minus.
Sure.
right? Which sucks because you're like, well, what the fuck am I doing then? I don't even know what the hell
Well, I
I'm doing.
mean,
You know?
everything requires an MSDS, right? And
Right.
so even Grown with Love's products, we have MSDSs on everything we have for Cantech for every product. We have to have that material safety data sheet. That if someone wants to know what is in our product, right?
Right.
Is it flammable? Is it
Right.
what is the poison control procedures, etc. We got to have that. I think it's very, very, very key to make sure those procedures are implemented.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, and
So, and that's not all CBD was created.
it's not right, and that's what I tell you guys. Not all CBD is
not
created.
required in the marijuana space.
Right.
Right. They can do do whatever. So.
And a lot of times, I mean, you guys don't even know what they're using. I mean, you being a cultivator, I mean, you can only imagine what kind of shit they're putting in flower, right? When they grow, right? So, you have a very specific. I'm sure you have They've probably created this is how you grow our flower.
Yep.
Right. Your SOP.
Yep.
This is the dirt we use. This is the nutrients we use, and this is how we do it, and this is how we test it. Right?
Soon it'll be law that all the ingredients that are utilized in the cultivation methods will have to be on the label.
Okay.
I mean, you got to put ingredients in everything else.
Right.
You want to know how your cannabis is grown.
No, absolutely, right.
Was it grown with PGRs and synthetic nutrients, right? Or was it grown with, salt-based nitrogens and
right,
calciums? And so, again, it gets really interesting when they have to put down
how we're growing. And being here in Oklahoma, there's been the grows that have been here. I mean, you see it on the news all the time. They busted another grow, had people from Asia growing some weed out here or some shit, and it ended up being a freaking like a camp where these motherfuckers were living, and you're just like
sending it all back overseas too.
Yeah, like what the fuck is going? You're like it's crazy. But I mean, for you being a cultivator, I mean, you understand the importance of the nutrients that the plant needs, right? Like your SOP says this is how we're gonna do it, and I'm sure you're not by yourself. I'm sure you have your own little team, and you got to train them, right? You got to show them, hey, this is how we do it. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it this way.
And we have all the bugs and the PM here, so our Blue Magic's what helps us with that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Because you guys created Blue Magic as well, right?
Yep.
That was one of the products that came out of the research program with Project Hemp for Victory. Was the Blue Magic, the terpene based pesticide that is the staple of all the programs we work with.
And that is that more for just the outdoor grow, or is it both for outdoor and indoor? For indoor,
and both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's a big. I mean, it's a lot to it. I mean, when you grow flower, I mean, when you start, I mean, for a lot of veterans, they love growing stuff, right? Yeah. They love growing stuff, and it's because they feel like it needs me, right? Sure. It needs me, so I have to be here long enough for this thing to grow, right? Because without me, it's not going to grow; it's going to die, right? And so, for you guys that are, like I tell you guys, grow your medicine, right? That's a big thing. Grow your medicine so you know what you're ingesting.
Right.
And it's fun too.
Yeah, it can be fun. It can be very much fun. You put your headphones in, and you just get in there and just go to town with it, right? Trimming and cleaning and all kinds of stuff, right? And that's one of the biggest things, because it's so hard. I know a lot of people are scared of the stigma that's out there, of cannabis and this and that. There's a lot to ingest. Like with this episode, there was a lot to ingest, right? Like, fuck, how do I know if I'm getting good medicine? How do I know if this is right for me? How do I know? It's hard, right? But that's why I tell you guys to keep a journal. Every time you get a new flower, you're trying a new flower, write down the terpenes. How did it make you feel? How did it taste? Right? And you keep a journal of it so that you guys know, okay, this worked last time. Absolutely. I liked how this made me feel, right? And you can keep a journal and you can keep your top 5 strains. Oh, these were the top 5. Made me feel the best, right? Because everything's journaling. You growing. It's a journal, right?
Yep.
Not
notebooks,
every plant,
bunch of notebooks,
right? Not every flower grows the same, right?
Yeah. Everyone grows different. Man.
They all grow different, right? Yep. They all grow different. It's like I did the same thing with this one that I did with this one. This fucking thing's dying. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not the same, right? You put too much water, you put too much nutrients. You got to figure it out, right? They don't all grow the same, right?
No, they all grow different.
They all grow differently. So this one has too much light. Yeah, this one has too much light. This one didn't get enough light. Right. This is this, The canopy. Why does the canopy look so different and stuff?
Just like us, some of them they're different. Just like every one of us. Some of us like chicken, and some of us don't.
Right, and and that's the biggest thing. A lot of people, and that's why I don't want to scare you guys to thinking that you can't do this because you can. Check out Ryan Early, right? He's like, I was a plumber.
FarmerRyan.com.
FarmerRyan.com, right? He was like, he's a plumber, man. That's what he did. And then he said, I'm going to get into CBD. And now look at him. He's wrote 6, working on 7 House bills.
Yep.
Working on psilocybin bill, right? Yeah. New research project coming out in Oklahoma. House bill
3414.
House Bill 3414 for Oklahoma for medicinal research of psilocybin, guys. One of the things I keep telling you guys about psilocybin, dude, is it's an amazing freaking product. Don't be scared of it.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It works. It works amazingly.
There's a lot of data out there starting back to 1950s, right, that shows psilocybin can be used for everything from addiction all the way through, of course, full mental reset of those in full psychosis.
That's what I need. I need full mental reset. Man. I got a whole
Put you in a padded room, about 3.5 grams.
Right.
See you in 10 hours, buddy.
Shit. I have to eat 6 grams to get anything. I'm eating 6 grams to get anything. You know what I'm saying? And that's that's one of the biggest struggles that I'm having. Like I started with 3.5 grams.
Sure.
I was like, cool, this is good. I don't get no psychedelics.
Right.
Like I don't get, but I get the chill. Like feel good, right? So I jumped it up to 5 grams. Oh, I'm starting to see a little bit, right? And I went to 6 grams. I was like, okay, this is a good spot to be, right? And like I said, every strain is different with psilocybin as well as cannabis, right? Every strain. So I'm right now, I'm eating one right now, and this thing, I hate it because I feel good, but when I start coming down on that back end, I start thinking about how much I fucked up in my life, and I start crying and shit. I'm like, emotional, dude, you know, gets real emotional, right? But that's what we need. That's what psilocybin does, right? It's like a mental reset, right? It's a mental reset, and a lot of people don't know that and don't understand that. But the psilocybin itself, it actually helps recalibrate the mind. Right, it helps get that mind right, you know, and so that's why I'm super excited to see it. But I know there's a lot of talk here in Oklahoma to see it on a ballot before too long, you know, which I'm super excited about. I mean, a lot of people didn't ever think that Oklahoma would ever allow cannabis to be legalized, right? Because we're the Bible Belt, right?
Reddest state in the country.
Reddest state in the country, right? Went green, right? And I tell them, right? So there was a lot of activists, right? There's a lot of advocates here that said we got to vote for this, right? And 57% of the state voted yes, right? That's over half the state that said, yeah, let's do this.
Absolutely.
You know, but those advocates, like I tell you guys, advocates were advocating every day the importance of this. And people, like I tell you guys, people didn't think Oklahoma would ever legalize cannabis, but we did it.
It's here.
A lot of people even frowned about it.
Mecca of marijuana in America.
Right now, we absolutely are, man. This is one thing I keep telling you guys about advocating and saying, if you guys, it can happen. You have to have the right movement, right? You have to have the right people helping you push to legalize it, right? You got to start at the local level, and as you get your team together, as you get all your advocates together, because here in Oklahoma, it's civilians and military that are both advocates, and we're all working together to ensure that we can get this medicine, and we're all going to come together when it comes to Congress. Hey, guys, you got to, that's what I want to do. I want to talk to the senators here in Oklahoma. I said, what is your stance on this when it comes time to vote? Like, what are you looking at? Yeah. I need you to vote yes. This is why I need you to vote yes. If you were a Republican, you guys always like, I'm for the veteran. Let me see you really for the veteran. You know what I'm saying? If you're for the veteran, let me tell you why this is important to me, why this has to happen, why you need to vote yes for this. Not because of your beliefs or whatever you or think you're running with, but if you are for the veteran, then let me show you why this is important to us.
Absolutely.
You know, for federal legalization, you know, just helping us out, man.
There's a lot of groups that are barking down the right track, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's creeping. They can't ignore it any longer.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, it's coming.
Has to be months away from acknowledgement.
Right. It has to be. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm hoping by June, by this summer, they start saying, okay, let's do this. I mean, the whole thing, this whole COVID thing has been, been throwing everything off. But I mean, it's got to happen. I mean, they can only hang on and talk about it for so long before nothing happens with it, right? And when nothing happens with it, they're going to hear an uproar. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be an uproar like, why? What's going on? You know?
Absolutely.
And so, well, we're getting close to the end of the show, man. You want to finish off? You want to tell these guys anything, how to reach you and how to get in contact and how to look for you, what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, again, growbluemagic.com. Find out more about the pesticide developed here as part of the government's World War II project left over from the early 1940s.
Right.
Grown with Love Farms. Check out some of CW's work and where his team's kind of taking the THC side of things here, gwlfarms.com. And that's it, farmerryan.com if you want to know more about my story and kind of the battle in legislation all the way through, where we currently stand.
Right.
FarmerRyan.com's got some great information going
FarmerRyan.com. So I'll give you guys an upper hand, as I understand, is how the hell he do it?
Yeah.
How do he do it? Gives you some insight, you know?
Book's coming out soon.
He's got a book coming. Everybody's
coming out.
got a book coming out. Everybody I talk to has got a book coming out. What about you, CW? What you want to say? You want to say anything to these guys?
Come and get some seeds from Grown with Love.
Absolutely. See, I'm gonna talk to you guys. I got a brother. He does vet codes, and he actually has a seed bank that he's got people donating to him. And maybe we can talk something out. Maybe we can work something out and see.
Yeah, come and see us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Like I tell you guys, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. That's the only way this content gets out, right? If it doesn't benefit you, I guarantee you, your brother or sister, it could benefit, man. Go check out Ryan with farmerryan.com. Check out his content, man. Like I said, go check out Grown with Love, man. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, man.
Appreciate you having us.
Absolutely, brother. Like I said, go check out Rafa180.com. That's Romeo Alpha Papa Hotel Alpha 180.com. Providing you the best medicinal grade CBD on the market, guys. Like I tell you guys, not all CBD is created the same. And you want to know, like I said, how do you know you're getting good medicine? Because they provide you every freaking lab report you need to ensure that you're taking the right medicine that you need, man. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me, man. Remember, hit the Stone Vet. We got you 6.
They got us marching and stepping by my platoon, you get trampled. If it ain't raining, we ain't training. Nothing changed by complaining. I adapt and overcome. I make the best out of situations. I stay alert for my enemies trying to do me some harm. I fight for your freedom of speech and your right to bear arms. When I say I got your 6, that means I got your back. But what else would you expect?